The Book of Ecclesiastes, Chapter 3. In studying this chapter, to reflect upon the preacher's observations gleaned from his search for the purpose of life under the sun, to understand why God's ways are sometimes inexplicable and why injustice along with wickedness are allowed to exist, to be reminded as to what is best for man to do in life under the sun. In the first two chapters, the preacher described the extent of his search for the purpose of life under the sun. In this chapter and the three to follow, he shares observation gleaned during the course of his search. In a well-known passage, we are told that to everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. 3 verses 1 through 4. For everything there is a season, and a time for every purpose under heaven, a time to be born and a time to die, a time to plant and a time to pluck up that which is planted, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to break down and a time to build up, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. 3 verses 5 through 8. A time to cast away stones, and a time to gather stones together, a time to embrace, and a time to refrain from embracing, a time to seek, and a time to lose, a time to keep, and a time to cast away, a time to tear, and a time to sow, a time to keep silence, and a time to speak, a time to love, and a time to hate, a time for war, and a time for peace. The preacher has seen that God has given man the task to seek out God's purpose by putting eternity in man's heart. 3 verses 9 and 10. What profit has he who works in that in which he labors? I have seen the burden which God has given to the sons of men to be afflicted with. But then he also saw that no one is able to find out what God does from the beginning to end, and no one can change what he decides to do. Why does God act this way? Why are his purposes often incomprehensible? 3 verse 11. He has made everything beautiful in its time. He has also set eternity in their hearts, yet so that man can't find out the work that God has done from the beginning even to the end. The preacher offers that God does this so man might fear before him, seeing that God will require an account for what is done. This prompts the preacher to state again what he believes is the best one can do: to rejoice, do good, to eat and drink, enjoying the good in their labor. 3 verses 12 through 14. I know that there is nothing better for them than to rejoice and to do good as long as they live. Also that every man should eat and drink and enjoy good in all his labor is the gift of God. I know that whatever God does, it shall be forever. Nothing can be added to it, nor anything taken from it, and God has done it, that men should fear before him. This, he concludes, is the gift of God. 3 verse 15. That which is has been long ago, and that which is to be has been long ago, and God seeks again that which is passed away. Next, he describes what he saw under the sun. In places where there should have been judgment and righteousness, he saw wickedness and iniquity. 3 verse 16. Moreover, I saw under the sun, in the place of justice, that wickedness was there, and in the place of righteousness, that wickedness was there. Why does God allow it? He reasoned in his heart that God will judge the righteous and the wicked, and that there must be a time for every purpose and for every work. 3 verse 17. I said in my heart, God will judge the righteous and the wicked, for there is a time there for every purpose and for every work. He told himself that God tests men to help them see that they are little different from beasts. 3 verse 18. I said in my heart, as for the sons of men, God tests them, so that they may see that they themselves are like animals. Both man and beast die, and both return to the dust. 3 verses 19 and 20. For that which happens to the sons of men happens to animals. Even one thing happens to them. As the one dies, so the other dies. Yes, they have all one breath, and man has no advantage over the animals, for all is vanity. All go to one place. All are from the dust, and all turn to dust again. From a purely earthly perspective, there is no advantage of man over beasts, for one cannot see whether the spirit of man goes upward, while the spirit of animals goes downward to the earth. 3 verse 21. Who knows the spirit of man, whether it goes upward, and the spirit of the animal, whether it goes downward to the earth? This led him to the perception stated once again, that it is best for a man to rejoice in his works. This is man's heritage, for who can bring one back to see what will happen on the earth after him? 3 verse 22. Therefore I saw that there is nothing better than that a man should rejoice in his works, for that is his portion. For who can bring him to see what will be after him? This concludes chapter 3 of the book of Ecclesiastes.